I have the gift of being resilient and being accountable. And when I realized this gift was there, I said, why should I hold on to this gift? Why should I not give it to others so they can benefit out of it?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Take 2 Minutes podcast. I'm your host and founder of Take2Minutes.org, Mark Fussell. Joining me this week is Thomas Scaria. Thomas is a certified life and accountability coach committed to empowering others to reach their potential. Through his own transformation and extensive experience, he guides clients in mindset rewiring and goal achievement. On top of this, Thomas is also an ultra marathon runner and utilizes a marathon mindset in his coaching. Thomas, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so very much for allowing me to be a part of this amazing platform that you're in, because I had a look on to Take 2 Minutes. And kudos to you and your team, what you are doing to humanity. That's the best thing that I can say. The way I can look at it is that the resonance, I sincerely hope that it really spreads all around.
Oh, well, thank you very much. We're doing a lot to try to help people, and I appreciate your thoughts towards it. It's a goal that I think we probably have a common goal, and that is helping people in that capacity. And that's what Take 2 Minutes is doing, and it sounds like what you're doing as well.
I am.
So I have a list of questions. I've looked at your website a little bit, which is down on the screen down here, and I've done a little bit of research, but I want to start with the simple one. And I read on your site, so I have an answer, but I think a lot of people would be curious, what is, one, an ultra marathon runner, and two, a marathon mindset?
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for this question. Very interesting one. And a lot of people, they do ask me, okay, you do marathon. How long is it? Is it 3 miles? Is it 10 miles? I say it is 26.2 miles, or if it's in metrics, it is 42.2 kilometers. So a marathon is a long distance race, which can be done on road as well as trails. And if you go further than a marathon, that's when it gets termed as an ultra marathon. So usually ultra marathon starts at the side of 45 or 50 onwards. And I have done quite a bit of those runs.
Really?
And my maximum has been 111. But that has not been 111, that would be around 65 kilometers or 62 kilometers. I'm sorry, miles. Sorry, my metric system, because as I'm based in Canada, I tend to talk in kilometers, but I believe it's around 65 miles if you're talking from the US point of view. So ultra marathon is a marathon, but pushing yourself more. The same way we talk about ordinary, extraordinary is a little extra. So that's what ultra marathon is. When I'm talking about my mind, the marathon mindset, this has come up from the point of view is that a mindset that works towards reaching your goal. So when we talk about, okay, I'm going to do a marathon. So we know I'm doing a marathon, which is going to be 26 miles or 42 kilometers. We get a tag of DNF, did not finish, if you don't do the marathon, but it's an attempt that you have done. But a true marathoner is a person who has completed a 42 kilometers or a 26 miles run or a walk, depending on how you're looking at it. So when we're talking about a marathon, it is not just about the legs taking you across towards the finish line, but also how you have worked towards those goals. What have you worked to make you successful? And how's your mindset? Because a lot of times in my sessions and lessons, I do say, yes, your legs do help you, but what's between your ears, your mind, that gets you in a more stronger way. And that's what marathon mindset is about.
I like that, because the mind is very powerful. And I think many people can agree that you can talk yourself out of something in your mind, your ability to do something, whereas in reality, you may be able to do it. You can talk yourself out of it. Similarly, you can talk yourself out of wanting to do something or having fear of doing something just in your mind. In reality, you may be able to accomplish it. You can talk yourself out of things pretty easily, or talk yourself into them if you're looking at a positive mindset.
Yes, very much.
Yeah. So how did you get into your line of work?
As a coach.
Yeah.
So here it did not start overnight. It was over a period of time. I realized that I have got the potentiality of helping people to achieve where they believe they were to where they want to be. And I started my area in service was more as a mentor. I was mentoring a lot of university students, grads and undergrads here in Western Canada and business schools. And that's when I realized, yeah, mentoring, we are showing a direction. We're telling them what's to be done. But how many times we as humans, we like to be told what's to be done? Of course, there's 2 minutes reminders. And again, it's a choice whether you want to do it or not do it. I realize as a coach, you're allowing the people to come out with what makes them tick. You're allowing them to see the strengths. You're allowing them to have a better clarity about where they want to go. It becomes a challenge for their own self that can they overcome it or they are okay doing what they want to do. So a lot of times I realized when I was talking about mentoring or working with that, I realized a lot of my clients or the mentees, they were avoiding failures. They had failures. They just wanted the way to get to a job or just get through an exam, which is good. But when you add, like Simon Sinek says, adding the why, it becomes potentially very powerful. And that's when I realized the power of coaching. So I have been in this coaching sphere for the last 4 years, 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
And I have been helping a lot of people to get towards that particular area. And another thing which I realized is that as a runner, because I used to not, I mean, it's been a while since I've been getting back to it because of my injury. But I realized there's a lot of life lessons that I picked up in my running. Specifically, is that you set a goal of doing maybe 10 kilometers or 20 miles or whatever it is. It's a goal. How are you going to work on it? There are days wherein I have looked into a marathon and I say, should I be ready for it? But I cannot just there may be people who may be just getting up in the morning and say that, hey, listen, I'm going to participate in a marathon. And those I admire David Goggins for doing something like that. But me as an average, I would consider as a normal person, I don't think I've got that element till I put an element of accountability within my own self. And that's when I realized that I have the gift of being resilient and being accountable. And when I realized this gift was there, I said, why should I hold on to this gift? Why should I not give it to others so they can benefit out of it?
Very good.
So that's where I am.
Very good. Looking at, again, some information about you, it seems like you maybe focus on program managers and project managers for clients. Are those your ideal clients? Are there others who are good clients for you?
So there is a course that I've been looking through, and they say that if you go to a room and you say that I'm a coach and I would like to train executives, how many people will really turn back? There are many people who would be executive, but I have been in the realm of program management as well as project management. I know the pain that I used to have when I used to walk out of the door. There would be areas wherein I would get up with a cold sweat in the middle of the night, or maybe the beautiful time of 3 o'clock. I've got to do that one, or I got to do this particular task or that task. But when you ask a project manager or a program manager, how's things going on? Outwardly, they'll say, everything is under control. But I have been with a lot of project managers and program managers. I know it is a specific area, but I know the pain that they're going through. And I want to help them in that particular pain. And it's like a duck. We look comfortable on the water, but below the water, we are paddling so quickly, so just to keep that demeanor. And I want to help people because one of the things which I realized was the aspect of course, we say it is a misnomer, the life work balance.
Yes.
I want to give a little credibility to it that, okay, you know what, you still can have a life, but work, you do it with a focus, but let's have a balance. That's where I go. Yeah.
Life work balance is very important, and something I tell people all the time is make time for yourself outside of work. And it's an important part. I think I've had many conversations around that even myself, I know that I have a very busy life, as most people have very busy lives. Mine, I'm not ever going to say mine is more busy than anyone else's, but I make sure every day I make some time for myself. And that could be doing yoga, it could be exercise, it could be going for walks with my dog, it could be sitting and having a cup of tea by myself for a half hour just to let my thoughts be free for a bit. But I make sure I make time every day for myself. And some days it's 15 minutes, some days it's an hour, but I do make sure every day that happens. I think that's important for people to make some time for themselves. And that's part of the work-life balance in my mind.
Mark, you would be so surprised if I show you the stats that I have got. I mean, it's not a huge number, but I would say at least 60% of the people, they cannot find time. And that's in one of my courses about time management.
Right.
I do go to the bedrock of Eisenhower matrix, but the element is they forget taking care of their own self makes it better.
It does.
And this is where people tend to forget is that, yes, I'm working for my family. I'm working for a better house. I'm working for a better pay. But end of the day, what really matters? Are you sleeping in peace? Do you have a smile at the end of the week that you have done a good job as a human?
Right.
And when you say that you take out time, like in marathon, we say you may be that 0.0001% of the people who are running marathons. The same thing about in today's world, I would say that you are one of those 0.00000, maybe 1% of the people who's taking out time for themselves.
And the mindset of I don't have time is an easy one to fall into. And I say that, and maybe hopefully this will help someone, because there are many days still yet where I'll get up, and I get up early. I try to get up by 5:30 most days, and I'll come down here to my office to check on something. Before you know it, 2 hours has passed, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to go get ready for the day, and I have this to do, I have this to do, and I skip my self time on those days. And then after doing it for a couple days in a row, because I do get engrossed in what all I have to do. But after that happens for a couple of days, I step back and go, listen, I'm not making time for myself. I got to make that 15 minutes, 30 minutes, hour in the morning for myself and not start working. So I hate to say excuse, but the excuse of not being able to find time is an easy excuse to make. You have to make an effort sometimes to find the time.
True. And actually, you know what? Sorry, I should have said something else also. People do have time. They have got a lot of time. Wherein they go and sit in front of the TV.
Right.
Okay. They are discussing about whether it is the soccer or the football or the ice hockey or whatever it is. They got a lot of times. They got times to go out and just have a couple of drinks, etc., which is not bad. But is it time to regenerate your own self? That's what I ask.
Yes, very well said. So I noticed a lot of talk in different areas when I was doing some research on you about resilience. Let's talk about the topic of resilience. And that seems to be an important topic with your work. How do you define resilience, and why is it so important?
So for me, resilience, as we know, or the way I have understood, is that the capacity to withstand or recover quickly from the difficulties. I add resilience rise. That's what I use my hashtag for, is that transform your turn back moments to stepping stone towards your greatness. So an example I will give over here is I have been in service delivery, and this is one of my favorite examples, which I say in IT. And initially, we used to the good old days about my mouse is not working. Okay, so I would go to the client and I'd check out what's wrong with the mice. To make it a quick fix, I could just put another new mice and finish the task off. But when I take a moment to tell the user what went wrong and what are the steps they could do before waiting for the next half an hour where the time is, irrespective of how it is going on, to see what they could do. So that's where Resilience Rise comes in. Yes, you fall down, you dust up, but making yourself aware that, oh, you know what, there's going to be another obstacle, another challenge in front of me. So now that I know I've got up from this challenge, let me be more prepared for the next challenge which comes in.
Right.
So that's where the resilience and the resilience rise comes up. And that's my ideology.
I think you had a good definition for resilience. And I wanted to repeat it, but I lost it. Can you repeat your definition one more time?
Sure, of course. Sorry if it went out of this thing. The capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties. It is a mental state of toughness.
I like that definition. I thought that was very well said, and I wanted to repeat it. So I thank you for repeating it. So how is someone's overall life impacted when they have the skills you teach versus when they don't?
So here, what I have looked into is that, as I mentioned, I have been a project manager. I have been having the endurance of a long distance runner. I have got a coaching approach which takes both these elements together. Of course, in the span which I'm still learning and will continue to do so, is I've been learning a lot of other elements which will help me to make it much more better, whether it is like the cognitive behaviors, okay, and whether it is a little about how understanding the mindfulness works. So I had these particular elements, and my bedrock over here is that, yes, I teach about resilience, but I teach about accountability. Now, the 4 pillars when I talk about resilience, for them to grow in resilience, is not just about, I've got a plan. There are other elements which is involved in that particular plan of you being more resilient. One of the examples here I use, there was a time, again, it's there on my website, wherein I had taken on the initiative of running 5 marathons over 5 weekends.
My gosh.
To raise money for cancer research. Yes, even I said, my God, what am I thinking about? Don't know I have anything better to do. And it was during the times of COVID. But I realized there was a flyer which came in and from this organization saying that they are in dread of cash. And because of COVID, nobody's really getting the money, etc. I said, okay, let me do something. And here, Mark, it was not about me breaking my own boundaries. Of course, that I realized later on how I could push myself. It was about what can I do for others. So my goal at that point of time is, even if I can get staplers for that organization, for the money, the donation that I'm getting, so be it. But I'm doing it with a clean heart. When I was doing this run, I knew that I had to be accountable, not to anybody else, but to my own self. I got to have a sense of commitment. I need to be working on my excellence. I need to be consistent. So all these things, when you get together, you get a power within. Because that becomes a disciplined mindset also. So what I love getting to the people is getting onto the other side of the finish line. I'm writing a book which calls as Resilience Rise, Beyond the Finish Line. 26.2 transformative miles to get over life's marathon or hacks. So over here, what I mean to say is that once you finish the finish line, it doesn't get over. It becomes a part of you. And that's what you strive to work towards. There are some amazing coaches and gurus, etc., which I've learned a lot. But keeping that consistency, making it a part of your everyday practice, like you make it as a practice of getting up in the morning and between 5 and 5:30, working on something which you love, working on your time management, being aware. Now, being aware that you need time for your own self, you have made that as a part of your being. A lot of people, they go for these courses, the company is paid for it, and it's another few characters to be added onto their resume. Or yes, I've done this course.
Right.
But what are you doing to develop yourself?
So I'm trying to take a couple notes. I don't want to lose track. So one, you did 5 marathons in 5 consecutive weekends. Is that correct?
That's right. Yes.
That's
And and of course, sorry, the PS was I got roughly around $2,500 to $3,000 in donations, which was huge for people. I mean, it was COVID time where people were challenged about money, and that fueled me for the next year. Again, I ran. I think so. That time I did around 6 or 7 marathons, but then it became a part that what. Especially so, Mark, over here, what happens is that when I'm training people have goals. But what is a goal? Why? If you have a goal to be somebody better, so why you want to be better? What is the backdrop behind it? So here for me, that run was not about proving my own self, which I never believed in myself. But I believed it's going to help be of a service to somebody. So when we have a strong why, we would be so surprised how resilient a whole being becomes. My service was not about the cancer research getting in the money. My goal was the people, not even the patients or the cancer patients. Sorry about that. But for me, it was more about the people who are around them, the hurting and the pain that they are going through. So when I would go in fact, there were some areas wherein I have written the third or the fourth one, wherein I was so depleted of energy. And what I had in my mind is the pains that they are going through, they don't say to anybody. This is just a physical pain. I can go home and take some painkillers and I'll be okay. So when you're driving for another human, you get so inspired, motivated, and that mojo or that magic comes within you. You go one step after another step. And that's what I want to push across in my training. So that's
I can feel that. I can relate to that because I didn't run a marathon, but similarly with Take 2 Minutes, there are times where something doesn't work appropriately for a subscriber, and I definitely scurry to fix that so no one else has to, find the error, find the bug, whatever. I want it to be as good of a product as it can be for everybody, and so I take those things to heart, and I don't want people to have a bad experience. So I completely get it on a different level. With the marathons, and I have to ask this question, obviously you've ran marathons. So the first weekend was probably a marathon for you. Second weekend, doing it again. But the third weekend, did you find that you had some mental resistance about doing it again?
A lot. And here again, as I mentioned, is that even if I had not done it, I could have put it on a post saying that after 2 marathons, I gave up. But who was I giving it up for? Was I giving it up for myself, or was I giving it up for a dream that I have got?
Right.
I realized the dreams are always bigger. The dream was be of.
It's just like good for you for overcoming that, because I'm sure it had to be just a mental barrier to do it again and again and again for 5 times. And
the biggest donation came after the 4th marathon.
I can only imagine.
And again, a lot of people did not believe that I could do it, though I have run around the globe, because I come from a very laid-back lifestyle, lazy habits, and I wouldn't mind saying it on the platform over here. I used to be a heavy smoker, around 2 packs a day, and unhealthy diet, etc. So today also some of my peers, when they look at you run? Do you really run? I say, yes. I mean, so then I've come to a point where I don't have to really prove anything to anybody. Are there? So that's another element which I help people to do is that when you're looking at a lot of what some of the few bedrocks of the society has been, or when I'm talking to a lot of people, it is they are either comparing, wherein the elements of the imposter syndrome comes in, or they're complaining, or they're criticizing, and sometimes they're doing it to their own self.
Right.
And that's what I would like to break.
That's very important because we can be our own worst critic. And I think kind self-talk is very important to gaining confidence in your ability to do things.
True. And Mark, as we are talking, I was just remembering yesterday, I was reading through an article wherein it says your subconscious does not know if you're talking to somebody else or you're talking to yourself. It always knows that you're just talking to you. It's I, me, myself. That's what your subconscious believes. So whenever you're talking or being kind, your subconscious takes it that you're doing it to your own self.
Like that. The subconscious is very powerful, and I talk about it quite a lot. That's a good perspective on how our communications internally and externally can affect our behaviors and thoughts. So another note I had was, I sound like you're writing a book. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm writing a book. In fact, I just finished my manuscript, and maybe after this, I will like to talk to you further on it. But yes, I'm writing a book about. So, of course, the title of the book is Resilience Rise. And as I mentioned, the title is, let me just see what was it. Unleashing a Marathon Mindset. Okay. 26.2 transformative milestones to overcome life's greatest challenges.
Very good.
So what I have done is, I've been talking to quite a bit of publishers at this point of time, and still mulling over whether I should go in for self-publishing or hybrid, etc. But that's a different story. So the element of this particular book is a marathon has got 6 stages.
Okay.
The first stage is the start stage. Okay, when you're standing in the start line, waiting for the run to begin. Then you've got the settling in. The second stage. Then you've got the middle miles, okay, wherein you're just being consistent and things like that. And then you've got the wall, what we call it as when people, they reach a point when they are just, what got into my mind that I'm doing this particular element. Then we have got the last finish lines and the finish marker. These stages have made it parallel to life.
Okay.
So in life, when you start something new, whether you're moving to a new place, whether you're starting a new business, whether you're starting a new relationship, then you're starting anything new, there's always a sense of nervousness. There's a sense of excitement. There's a sense of, so that's the same feeling that takes place when you're in the start line of the marathon. So I've made it in parallel to life itself. Then there are topics like, when you start settling in for the run, you realize, you know what, I should have had proper food. I should have not had too much of hot dogs or hamburger or whatever it is, or too much of beer, whatever. Okay, so the nutrition, how fit you are. So different milestones which will help you in being successful, in being more strong or more resilient in life. Then you've got the middle miles wherein you're looking at the goals. You know your goal is not just 6 miles. It is 26.2 miles. So you've got to, so keeping a goal mindset on working towards a goal. Then there is, of course, what we always talk about, the subconscious visualization. Yes, I am, because when you're visualizing, as I mentioned in my previous example, I was visualizing what the people who are helping the cancer patients or something like that, they are going through. And I realized, you know, I can do it because it's a dream that I want to help. When you visualize that, it's for the better good, you tend to succeed more stronger. And then you come to the elements like your wall, wherein you tend to lose your focus. Wall, I don't know if you have known, but wall is that particular stage in a marathon. At times, people, they just stop. They do not know why they are going. Everything goes blank. It is zil, it's nada. Your body cramps up. You just want to stop everything and just, for me, a lot of times just wanted to go to one corner and start crying. Because it can be quite painful.
Right.
It can be. So that's what the wall is. So wall is, at times you're working towards a certain dream, you're working towards some particular element, and immediately the carpet gets pulled out beneath your feet. Or you lose somebody who's an important part of your life. Or somebody drops out of your life unexpectedly and leaving you hurt, disappointed, betrayed. So what do you do in these particular cases? And that was a name.
I don't know what that was about. My thumbs weren't even on the screen. Did you see that? Yeah, I'm sorry. Apple computers have these things where when you do certain movements, and there's the thumbs up, but I had no thumb on the screen at all. I don't know what that was about. It was a thing. Sorry about that.
No, don't be. It happens. Life happens. Yeah. If you're being sorry about everything what life gives you, then we are not exactly in a great space of life itself. So here, Mark, what I've put across is that I'm not just giving philosophy or just talks. I give, from my point of view, is that what are the 3 simple things that you could do, like the way you have got it in your take 2 minutes. Simple things that could help them to overcome those particular challenges, whether it is about procrastination, whether they are hitting the wall, whether they are getting ready for a new venture. 3 or 4 simple steps, but one of my most critical ones, again, that's where our ideologies come together, is I want people to write down, journal themselves, be as truthful as possible. Because once they start writing it down, they know where they stand, who they are, and what are the steps to overcome it. So mine is, I write about, and here again, I take out anecdotes from my life, from different areas of my life, what I've learned through the last few decades. Also, I take out elements of amazing personalities, whether it is the likes of Nelson Mandela or Gandhi or Malala, or even a few weeks back, I was writing about, when we were talking, I think about one of the elements was values. Robert Downey Jr., where people wrote him off after the first hit of Chaplin, that he was in a very bad shape. Yes, he was in a bad shape, but he said he has to overcome. Till a few weeks back, wherein he won the Best Supporting Actor. Nobody helped him, but he helped himself.
Right.
Okay. Or whether it is, we are talking about Buster Douglas, the fighter who defeated Mike Tyson. Because he promised his mother, and his mother passed away a few days back. He said, I will do it for my mother. So we humans, we have got that passion. We have got that fuel. And if I can help people in igniting that fuel, I think so I'm happy. There was actually, if you don't mind me saying, there was a publisher once, he asked me that, how many books do you want to sell? For me, I wanted to put a number. Then I said, you know what? Am I selling the book for the number, or if it can be a service to other people? If people can learn a little more and they can achieve towards their greatness. So that's where I am.
Very good. When do you expect the book to be available? Do you have any anticipation?
I'm hoping to get set on a publisher by this month end.
Okay.
Hopefully. And then, of course, work through the entire rigmarole, or I could go through KDP or something like that for self-publishing. So given a choice, I would like maybe by another 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
But that's what I'm looking out for. Hopefully. I mean, for me, I'm an optimist and a positive person. So I always say,
that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So the analogy you gave between a marathon and events in life really resonated with me. And I tried to take notes of the 6 stages of a marathon. And I think I got a couple wrong here. But obviously we have the start, we have settling in, And then the third one middle miles or goals? What was the
Middle
third one?
middle miles.
Middle miles. Okay, it is middle
Middle
miles.
miles.
And then
Yes.
we go into wall as the fourth one,
The wall
correct?
one, yeah. And then
Yep.
we
And
have
then,
got the final miles
yep. And then finish.
and finish.
Okay. That resonated because I could understand as I take on tasks in life, new projects, whatever it may be. I think that analogy really made sense to me.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Because in the grand marathon of life, we are both runners as well as spectators. It's our choice. Everybody has got the winding parts of challenges and opportunities also that goes along with it. How do we take it?
So, what can listeners start doing to improve their resilience?
One of the biggest thing I've realized, again, I'm not talking about anybody else, but for my own growth has been be truthful.
Yep.
Because when you have got that bedrock of being truthful to your own self, you realize how powerful you can be. That's number one. When you allow yourself to know what are the challenges, knowing the challenges itself is a huge opportunity because you're acknowledging it. And the moment you start acknowledging the challenges, it is wonderful how the universe responds or the higher power responds. You will start getting solutions. And again, it's left to you how you want to build up on it. So currently, everybody's talking about the challenge of AI taking over the world. But then, how can you build yourself from the AI point of view? How can you work for being coexistence in a way that it will help you rather than being fearful? So for resilience, these are the main things. And of course, that's where I applaud again. Take 2 minutes. Creating a sense of discipline. You give the solutions, what's to be done in every the 2 minutes of the hour or whatever it is. It's a choice. Taking no choice also is a choice.
Right.
Right? So it is how you're disciplining yourself to overcome that element. An example, with your permission, if I could go into it.
Yeah.
Is it was in 2020. That's one of my first chapters. In 2020, I got a call from, I'm from Bombay, India, Mumbai. And I got a call about my dad passing away. And because it was COVID times, there was no flights, nothing that I could do. So it was just on a mobile watching his funeral through the night. And there was just around 4 or 5 people just taking us. And though he was a very esteemed member of our community, there was nobody around for him. I went through it and it was very sad that I couldn't be. So the following morning, I tried giving a call to my workplace saying that, hey, listen, I want to get some time off just to unwind or distress or just that time to grieve. There was no response. In the afternoon, a call comes in from my director. And I said, this is the case. He says, okay, I'm sorry, but you're relieved of your duties. One day, 2 hits taking place of my dad passing away and of me let go, being relieved of my work.
Right.
It hit me.
Yes.
And especially in our culture, the South Asian culture, what we have got is 2 main things, which really is the top of our Maslow's hierarchy is family and work. The other things can come in later on, but that's not really in the top priority. I grieved for some time, but within a couple of days, I said, what is this teaching me? By grieving, what can I really achieve. I can let go of the sorrows, yes. But that's when I realized the element of the resilience within me. I realized that I have got the fortitude to forge ahead. And that gave the rise for my passionate running and running. Maybe that was my way of letting go. But that gave a birth to that 5 marathons, 5 weekends, 5 marathons.
It
So when
definitely tested your resilience, right?
yes.
Yes.
So life happens. How my attitude or what my comeback was with the life, I said yes. I started looking more as a time that I had a great time with my dad when he was alive. He made me what I was to a good point. Work, I learned what my work was. So be it. Now, if there's a chapter which closes, it's time for me to move on. Here I am. That's where I got it.
Glad you got through that. That would have been a tough time, definitely. And a couple of things you said, we've talked about self-talk a little bit and acknowledgement of yourself. And I think the self-talk thing and acknowledgement helps with resilience if you can. So everyone has made mistakes. Everyone's probably done things they wish they wouldn't have done. But I think it comes, for me, I know it comes down to recognizing and learning from those mistakes and not dwelling on what you did wrong, because again, it goes back to self-talk. And if you can recognize that you could have done something better or learn from what you did wrong or poor or negatively, that self-talk, it got you to where you're at right now. And if you can recognize it as an experience and recognize how you can learn from that experience, that changes the self-talk from, oh, I wish I would never done that. That was a terrible thing I did. No one's going to like me anymore. To, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But from that, I've learned in the future to do something better.
Super. Exactly my way of thinking is that, yeah, sure, I did it. I became a fool. I was a fool. People saw me as a fool, but who cares? I learned. Now I'm ready to go on. And that's the way I would always look at that. And that's again where my running comes in, wherein I have fallen a couple of times. A lot of races, I did not finish it, but I've learned a philosophy saying that, so what? Now what?
How many marathons do you think you've ran?
Altogether, long distances and marathons around 85. If I've been keeping account of.
That's phenomenal.
It is just no. I mean, I don't want to undermine or be humble or try to say that it's a good number. But as in life, Mark, every time you do something, and you are in IT, you create new programs, new elements. But every time you create, something could happen which could make it work or which may not make it work. It is all very relative on what it is. So everything like your life, okay, when you come to the start line, irrespective of whether you have done it 10 times, 20 times, or 85 times, you do not know when the next step takes place, what's going to happen.
Exactly. And this next question I have isn't relative to anything besides my curiosity. So let's go back to the 5 marathons and 5 weekends. Did you find that you, from weekend 1, 2, 3, and 4, your times decreased, stayed the same, or increased? And that probably wasn't even important. That wasn't the goal. That wasn't your rationale. That wasn't your reason. It has nothing to do with anything important. It's just my own curiosity.
It decreased.
Did it? I would think it would have.
It decreased because, especially towards the 5th marathon, I lost my steam. Even though, there was a fuel of compassion, there was a fuel of being kind and being of service, etc. But your body is still a physical body.
Hey, yeah.
And when you're running around 26 miles, it takes its toll.
Yes. Yes. But, and again, that question, it had nothing to do with anything, because there wasn't the purpose of you running was for speed or time. That had nothing to do with the goal. I was just, my own curiosity is all that was.
Yeah, it's very much valid. In fact, a lot of people have asked that particular question also. So it is very much, it's a justified question. So no worries.
So what do you think the biggest challenges are for someone becoming resilient or more resilient than they currently are?
Not being truthful. It goes back to the basic element. Not being truthful to their own self. I had mentioned before, as a project manager, I would show the world everything is under control. Everything is taken care of. But deep within, I knew the challenges that I was having, the sleepless nights I was having, or even it could be something as simple as that, trying to work around with the resources, having at times proper communication. Because you may come with a set of goals that you've been working towards, but your resources may not be having that same mindset of achieving those goals. For them, it may be just as work. Time schedules, life happens.
Yes.
So these particular things for resilience also, what I realized is that the more I was open, the better it became. And one of the deepest element which I'm building up my coaching is all about accountability. Because if you're, as I would say, is that leadership. For leadership, it has to come from within. Then only you can lead from out. And in fact, just the other day, I had written an article wherein I was carrying a photo frame of one of the saints. And I said, just because I was leading the crowd, it did not make me a leader, because I was just given that particular thing, that honorary position of holding it. But who is a true leader? So that's what I want to work people to be, is that be accountable. When you're accountable, you get disciplined. And when you get disciplined, you see a growth. As they say, history does not move on big things, but history moves on small hinges.
Right.
So you can create your own history.
Being a project manager or a program manager for some time, I would, and for your life coaching, I'm assuming time management's an important skill. What are your thoughts, and what do you want to say about time management?
Time management is again,
it goes back to making time for yourself, I guess. Really, in time management.
Time for yourself.
Go ahead.
So the same thing that I go is that the person who are millionaires or billionaires, they also got same 24 hours. Universe has not given them more extra hours, but they're still working through it. They also started somewhere small, but breaking down what your different tasks are. Usually I recommend the Eisenhower matrix, wherein what is urgent, what is not urgent, what is important, what is not urgent. And again, when I'm trained, I go through a lot through Stephen Covey's 7 habits. So there it's about creating the habits, about having proper time management, breaking down the time into different elements, about what is important, what is urgent, what is not important, what is still urgent. Things like that. And that people get a better hold. And the beautiful part, Mark, is that most of us go with a good intention that we want to make use of time. But if you really sit down and look at, are you really making use of time, or are you going around cleaning up something else? So when people say, I'm busy, I just ask them back, are you busy or are you being productive? That stops where they are. And then we start working on that. So time management is a very critical part. So that's where I am.
You, earlier in our conversations, you mentioned that you do life coaching for companies. Is it companies mostly in Canada, US, worldwide? Expand more.
Initially, it used to be for a few companies around over here locally, as to go and help them out. But now I've just left it open, because I've just revamped my coaching sphere. So at this point of time, again, I'm just climbing up the ladder all over again, because now it is I don't want to get back to the old thoughts, but I've learned a lot. So I'm working towards companies also, but it's global because in today's world, you're in Illinois and I'm talking from, so it doesn't matter where they are.
Right.
For me, it is if I can help your company or your group or even individuals. In fact, I have spoken to quite a bit of C-suite executives, and I realized that, you know what, just the title doesn't make a difference. Even they have got their own sense of insecurity, their own fears, their own aspirations, their own goals. It may be a little different from maybe the dollar figure point of view, but bottom line, it is there.
Yes. Good. So, Thomas, with coaching for companies worldwide and individuals worldwide, that's good for everyone to know. Is there anything that we haven't covered today that you want to touch on?
I would say that everybody has got the power. And of course, this is a common element from a lot of coaching gurus and things like that. But if you just start being bold and truthful in what you're doing, you will go way ahead. For me, if I have to say anything further, I think so. This the last 45 minutes told, I believe a lot of my life lessons has been told in some way or the other. My beliefs have been told in some way or the other. All I can say is that what Take 2 Minutes is doing is an absolute complement of what my beliefs are. And that's where I see is that if people look into your platform, there's a lot of growth over there also. And it's the choices. You got a choice to do it or not to do it. That also is a choice.
It's a choice, yes. So how can people find you? I know your website, thomasscaria.com. What else would you like to promote for people to get in touch with you?
They can connect with me on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, I've given directly a link about book consultation call for me with me, which could be around 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Because again, I do not want to take people and just lead them through the garden path. Because for me, it is a level of commitment, a level of accountability that when I'm connecting to Thomas, I want to get across to my next stage of life. So they can connect me through LinkedIn. So if you say Thomas Caria Vancouver, and now people who look at me and they know how I look like, so they would exactly know where I am. And of course, my element about LinkedIn talks about running and project management and as a coach, so that becomes much more easier for people to. And I think so also, if you look into the Google, the meta search, Thomas Caria Coach Vancouver, I should come up immediately.
There you go. Search on Thomas Scaria Vancouver, and you can find him pretty easily. And also on LinkedIn, his LinkedIn profile shows calling all program and project managers with his picture and his name. So hopefully people can find you there and get in touch and book that discovery call.
So thank you so very much, Mark.
I appreciate you being on the show today. Thank you for all your time and information. It was a lovely conversation, and I appreciate you taking the time for us.
The pleasure, I wouldn't say it was a pleasure. For me, it was a privilege.
Thank you very much.
For me, because the way I can understand is that in this conversation, you have been doing podcasts, I've seen it on Take 2 Minutes, that even if it touches somebody, just even one person, I think so I've succeeded. And I know when we sat down and we had this conversation, there was a beautiful feeling that a lot of people will benefit from this call.
That's always the hope, definitely. I agree with you on that.
That's where I am. And yeah, I open up. In fact, if you're open, maybe in a few weeks or a few months down the lane, if you want to talk specifically about whether you've talked about time management, you asked in brief, how do I be more resilient? And I just mentioned, but if you want to spend maybe 45 minutes just about what is accountability all about, or what is time management in my particular space all to be, or how to, of course, a lot of people, they talk about SMART goals and things like that. That's also one of my bedrocks. The SMART goals. And what do you talk about goal settings? So if you believe from my flavor, if you want to have another talk, I would more than welcome time, opportunity, and space. And huge
Very
thank
good.
you.
We'll have to book a second call with you and talk about time management a little bit more and expand upon that.
Fair enough.
I appreciate your time again today. Thank you very much, Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you so very much.
Thanks for listening. I hope you found that discussion helpful and interesting. If there are any topics you would like to hear discussed, head over to take2minutes.org and use the Contact Us form to submit your suggestions. Also, if you appreciate our content, sign up for an account at take2minutes.org. Subscriptions help us to continue generating new content. Thanks again.